2022 kicked off with a lot of changes for me. We moved from a small apartment with a balcony to an apartment on the ground floor. Instead of a balcony, I've now got a large patio and a small land space to garden. I had only experienced gardening in containers and in small raised beds on my balcony. So when I got this patio and a tiny piece of land to garden, I was really happy that I could experiment more, but at the same time overwhelmed as I had zero experience gardening on the ground. This has been a great learning experience for me. A lot of hard work, understanding the nature better, making mistakes. In the end, it was all rewarding. Today, let me take you along and show how I created a bountiful vegetable garden in a small 4-meter square ground space in order to become a little bit more self-sufficient. My journey started in January, even before we decided to move to this apartment. I started sowing seeds from my old apartment because I was sure that I will be gardening wherever I end up. And this continued in the new home as well. Even though there were a lot of tasks to be done after the move, organizing our new home, packages to unpack, I somehow made time to sow the seeds. Because you know how important timing is when you have a short growing season. So missing out on this opportunity was non-negotiable for me. When the sun started showing up more, the outdoors were also not spared. Some of the seeds like carrots, radishes, spinach were directly sown outdoors, covered with fleece to protect from the cold. By the beginning of April, I had an idea what to do with this small patch of land. I chose 3 raised beds. These are ready-made and it was the cheapest option available at that point in time. The inner portion of the raised beds were lined with a plastic raised bed fleece to protect the wood from moisture. After quite a bit of research, I chose no-dig garden method. In this method, we do not have to disturb the soil. We do not have to remove the grass nor till the soil. Just laying some cardboards on top of the grass will reduce the weeds from growing from underneath. This method is becoming very popular these days and is one of the easiest and efficient methods to start a small-scale garden. I'll make an exclusive video on this method and my experience with it so far. The compost soil for the raised beds were sourced from a nearby composting place. I took almost 200 liters of compost from here and it costed me just around €2. This was really cheap and convenient. And the raised beds were filled with compost. But the weather decided to take a turn and there was a snowfall forecast in April. I was too protective of my work so far and decided to cover the raised bed so that the area becomes easy to work even after the snow. While it was snowing outside, I continued sowing seeds and transplanting the seedlings. There were actually a lot of them to be transplanted. The transplanted seedlings took off very well in their new containers. When the weather was favorable again, the seedlings were hardened or kept outside for some time during the day before completely transferring them to outdoors. If you are new to gardening, there is a video on transplanting and hardening the seedlings on my channel. Meanwhile, it was time to harvest some veggies which were sown in March and April. This is officially the first harvest for me from my new garden. Now that the summer is just around the corner, I resumed the building of my new garden, which was stopped due to snow in April. I decided to mix some coco peat and vermiculite to the compost to improve the drainage. Mixing and playing with the soil was the best part of the whole process. There was something therapeutic about it. Since gardening on the ground in raised beds was new for me, I decided to follow the square foot gardening method. This method has helped me a lot to simplify a lot of aspects in gardening. It is basically dividing the garden beds or areas into squares of roughly 30 centimeter each and planting one type of crop in each square. I'll do a detailed video on it as well. And so the raised bed canvas was ready to be planted. I had a rough plan of what needs to be planted where, keeping in mind companion planting, crop rotation, and the spacing required for each crop to grow to its maximum potential. There were a lot of saplings to be planted onto the ground. By the end of May, the planting was almost completed. Impressed by the no-dig garden method, I decided to use the same method for the rest of the area as well and started laying cardboard sheets on the ground. There was space for one more small raised bed and this was installed in the same way as the other. I loved the look of wood chip pathways, so the space between the raised beds were filled with wood chips. Finally, the space started taking shape like how I wanted it to look. The brassicas needed to be covered with net as they attract white cabbage moths that can destroy their leaves. So I bought these hoops online and covered it with a net. Summer is officially here, and this is how the garden looked by the beginning of June. We got 2 weeks of good sunlight and the garden started to flourish. This is how much it grew in just 2 weeks' time. In time, the plants grow. It makes a huge difference to see things from start to finish, to see the results, to taste it for real, and to know that we have put the effort in to make it grow. We started getting good harvest from June onwards. The summer was not just about harvesting, but also a lot of time spent in maintaining the garden. For a successful garden, a regular maintenance is important. New seedlings were planted wherever gaps were formed, thinning of plants, removing the suckers from tomato plants, de-weeding. A lot of effort was put into maintaining the garden. Ever since I moved to this new apartment and got this tiny piece of land for me to garden, I've been envisioning a small vegetable garden patch. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, whether my ideas can all be put into effect, but I decided to try. Even if I fail, it is okay. I tried. But nature has surprised me. It turned out even more beautiful than how I wanted it to be. I so wanted to do more things in my garden. And sometimes I used to feel frustrated thinking about the things I couldn't do in my garden. But making this video was a true reflection of the past year for me. I realized the importance of looking back and think about what went wrong, what could have improved, but more importantly, what we achieved till now. This holds true in other aspects of our life as well. We all have so many goals, so many projects to get done, the never-ending to-do lists. And we keep pushing ourselves to achieve more and more goals, better habits, more money, more followers. It is never enough. It is in human nature. And one day we crash hard, feel burned out. And that's when pausing and looking back helps. We forget how much we have grown and how far we have got, all the struggles we overcame to reach here. It is already New Year, and I'm sure most of you have listed down your New Year resolutions and new goals. But I want you to pause and reflect. Remember all the good things that have happened in the past year, all the beautiful moments you had with your loved ones, how much you have grown. I'm sure the list is going to amaze you as it did for me. You'll feel more powerful, more accomplished, and much more refreshed than making a list of resolutions. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but that's okay. Neither are you where you used to be. With that thought, I wish you all a very happy and peaceful New Year. I'll see you as usual in the coming videos. Thank you and take care.